Alrighty, part two of Grandpa's trip to Germany, as we are calling this. Again, I'm just going to try to go, sort of day by day. Um, I thought I had maybe missed recording a day or two, but upon further review, it appears I did a pretty good job on this. So let's go ahead and just pick up where we left off. We had landed in Copenhagen and had some time, and this would have been Monday, and it's really hard again when you take a 7.5 hour flight and you also go through 8 time zones as it was, to kind of keep your days straight. That's for sure. But when we got to Copenhagen, that would have been Monday morning. It just would have gotten to us a lot faster than usual, and again, we didn't really go in with a plan other than we were just going to explore a little bit because we were coming back to the airport to catch an evening flight to Berlin. And so that'll be the topic of a future video. But anyway, let's just go ahead and kind of go through the notes here. And where I can, I will. I'll go to either a website or a Google Drive or something to supplement whatever it is happened that day. So on Monday, May 25th, 2026, I actually happen to remember, pretty sure I saw Herm Edwards at the Chicago Midway Airport. You need to YouTube or search, quote, "You play to win the game," end quote, rant. And you'll know Herm Edwards. He's actually very well respected. He's a good dude. I did not think to say hi or anything. He was alone and looked as though he was in the process of gathering his thoughts to get to a flight or something. So I did not bother him, but there you go. Celebrity sighting in the Chicago Midway Airport. Herm Edwards. No idea what he's doing these days. I guess we could look that up if we wanted to. But he coached the Jets and he coached the Sun Devils. Um, we got on the plane to Copenhagen, and I got to be honest, that flight was claustrophobic AF. It was. If the person in front of you put their seat back, it felt like the top of their chair was like pretty much right there, kind of at your chin. I had to kind of slide in and out of my seat. I couldn't really stand up, if you know what I mean. So, um, I am not much of the airplane traveler, and I don't really love it. But necessary evil if you want to get across distances at a quick rate. So, um, important to keep in mind too, this was after having walked through Chicago some, having sweated some, having flown from Denver to Chicago, and navigated some subways, navigated some airports and stuff like that. So when we finally did make it to Copenhagen, I was very, very happy. And we got in the morning. For what it's worth, I tried to watch a little bit of a movie um, called Marty Supreme. I guess I did get the whole movie watched in that trip, but I did it in very small chunks. I had to kind of watch some and then disengage and then watch some more. I couldn't just stay focused on it. Um, Pretty dark movie. Hard to root for this guy who's just kind of a big old jerk, and well written, well acted, and I can see where the appeal is, I guess, as far as a work of art. But not my favorite movie, Marty Supreme. Ping pong, kind of a superstar kind of movie. So, um, Timothy Chalamet, by the way, he's legit. He does a really, really good job. I did start watching a movie called Hamnet, and if you didn't know, on international flights, you usually have pretty good selection of movies to watch on the airplane, dedicated server or Wi-Fi or however they work that out. Um, I started watching Hamnet, and it was not really what I expected. And I decided I wanted to wait on that. I would finish that one on the return trip. So I'll give you a better review of Hamnet toward the end of our video series here. Um, it was very different from what I expected. That's probably the best I can say for now. We got to Copenhagen. We decided to walk around town a little bit, and this is where I guess maybe tragedy struck, really for the first time. Um, we decided we were going to put our backpacks into these lockers um, at the airport because, as I've stated, if you're not checking in somewhere, if you're not staying in that town and you're just killing some time, you're generally stuck carrying everything with you. And therefore, we decided to put them in backpacks and not, have rolly suitcases going through turnstiles and that sort of thing. We put our backpacks in the locker at the airport, and more on that in a moment. Let's just say that I've got some advice as it relates to airport lockers. There was a Royal Run event going on in Copenhagen. Apparently, there's a event where citizens of all ages can walk slash jog slash run like a 5K, and it ends at the Royal Palace. So they call it the Royal Run, and I mean it was packed everywhere. Everybody's wearing these shirts, and it's apparently a pretty big deal in Copenhagen. So we got to walk around and kind of observe some of that. Um, we did end up in a church, and I don't know which church it is. I actually did a little look see before I started this recording, and I don't really know what church in Copenhagen it was. It's a really big one, and I've got some pictures here, so I'm going to zoom through these real quick, just so you know if you want to see them, and if you know what the front of that building looks like and what it's about, then good, so much the better. By the way, I think that picture got mixed in. That seems like one from a museum we visited, but this is the church. And they were all very beautiful. We visited a lot of churches, and the German churches I would pick over the Danish one, um, for sure. And not really much to speak of on this one. We just sort of popped in and popped out, but that was really the only photographs that I had on Copenhagen the first time that we um, stopped in there. And again, just keep in mind on the back end of the trip, we came back through Copenhagen and had a little more time to do some things there. So, um, the weight, as far as these backpacks go, again, the weight of mine was pretty reasonable. And I think in the end, knowing the difference between lockers at the airport that are modern with cell phone lock and unlock capabilities, or airport lockers that have just literally an old school key that you can turn, I will take the old school every time after this experience. Or just carry my backpack, which I still think I could have done fairly easily. But you're trying to pace yourself. You're at the beginning of the trip, and I get all that. One of the things, as another tip, I took a laptop with me. In fact, the laptop that I'm currently recording on, I did not need it. Did not need a laptop. Shouldn't have taken it. If you have one for your work and you intend to work while you're there, then sure. But honestly, I think you can get almost everything you need to get done via the phone. My laptop was just a paperweight for the most part. So I did use it as a spare power pack. Whenever my phone or Cassandra's phone was dying, we could plug into my laptop and recharge a little bit. And that happened a couple of times. So you should know if you're taking extra power packs, though, that you can't put them in the overhead storage in the airplanes. You got to keep those in sight with you when you're seated, and you can't charge them while you're on the plane. So extra power packs don't really seem very practical either, to be honest. Kay brought two laptops with her, and again, I really don't feel like that was necessary. That was an added weight that she probably just did not need to do. So when we returned to the airport from visiting this church and walking around the Royal Run, we were trying to open the locker to get our stuff, and it came down to the facts that we could not get a good Wi-Fi or cell phone signal in order to enter the code that would unlock the door. And this turned into a little bit of a stressful situation. Um, and I encourage comments. If somebody has a better solution for this than we had, then by all means add it. But you need to keep in mind that regardless of what eSIM or what cell phone plan or package you augment for your phone, it all boils down to, can you get a signal? Can you get a 4G? Can you get a 5G? Can you get a Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi? And if you can't do that, then it's kind of, again, a big paperweight. It's not very helpful. So um, we get to the airport, we get to the lockers, we're trying to get our stuff. We can't open it because we can't get a signal, and we can't put the code in to unlock the door. Um, it was incredibly stressful for that to have happened that early in the trip. Um, my fiance was having a pretty difficult time with it. I happened to know, I was 99% sure anyway, that we were going to be able to figure it out, but we had a plane to catch to get to Berlin, and so it was causing a little bit of anxiety, to say the least. Um, we decided to go to the airport information booth. They were not that helpful, other than they gave us a landline so that we could call the customer service line that was on the locker door. Now, of course, I had to walk all the way back, take a picture of the locker door, walk all the way back to the phone, and then we made the call. So there was more steps there involved as far as that goes. She's on hold with um, customer service, and they don't have any clue how to do this. They were also not very helpful. But while we were on the phone, Cassandra was able to finally get a Wi-Fi signal on her phone. So I immediately left her on hold at the information booth, walked all the way back to the lockers, and then I was able to text her and say, "Okay, I'm here." She entered the code and the door popped open. And so we were able to get all of our stuff out of the locker. Um, I can tell you, I was able to send a text back and forth using the Wi-Fi at the airport, but I was not able to get a good enough signal to put in the code to open the door on my phone either. So um, there's a lot of that stuff that you're going to run into that you just got to be ready for. I don't know a better way to put it, but later on in the trip, we did rent a locker that had a key, and that just went. That was a piece of cake. That was nothing. So just know, if you decide to do this, that's a risk perhaps that you're going to take. Um, Needless to say, we got our things and we boarded our flight to Berlin. I would say another tip. I need to put a little sounder up or a little banner or something. I don't know what it is, travel tip number 6 or something at least, but to schedule a Denver to Chicago, a Chicago to Copenhagen, and a Copenhagen to Berlin string of connections is too much. I think we probably should have stayed the night in Copenhagen. That would have eliminated the locker issue, because we could have just checked into our hotel and left our stuff there. Um, but we could have just checked in the hotel, and then it does take some discipline, because what you're trying to do again is not go to sleep. So if you check into a hotel and immediately take a nap, I think that's a bad plan. But if you go to a hotel, maybe take a shower again, maybe put your stuff away, maybe take a breath at least, but then go out and explore, and then come back, go to sleep in Copenhagen, catch a flight to Berlin the next day. I think that would have probably been better. But we powered through, man. We made it all the way to Berlin. And it was exhausting. I did fall asleep on that flight, and I'm pretty sure I was snoring pretty loudly. I woke myself up snoring once, and I'm pretty sure um, my fiance was hitting me on the arm after I woke up, trying to get me to stop. So um, you just know at some point fatigue is going to take over. That's for sure. Um, Speaking of my fiance, she's really good at figuring out subway maps and bus schedules and that sort of thing. Um, but again, that takes a working phone to figure it all out. And we did run into some instances where, when her phone wasn't working, it turned into a more stressful situation. So after our flight, we grabbed the local subway train from the airport in Berlin to downtown. We reached our stop. We had a considerable walk to get to our hotel, and that's again something I would probably caution against. Now that you've been awake for however many hours you've been awake, it feels like 36. And now you're carrying everything, and now you're trying to get to your hotel. Um, it's pretty exhausting. Um, our hotel actually was even at a place where it was at the back corner of a development kind of lot thing, and you had to walk, no matter which direction you approached from, you had to walk 2 extra blocks and then backtrack those extra blocks. So you had like 4 extra blocks every time you walked to or from this hotel. just based on the way it was situated in its square block radius, if that makes sense. There was a park that eventually we figured out if you cut through the park, it gets a little easier, but there really was no great way to get to and from the hotel without having to backtrack some, which, early in the trip, we were feeling pretty good. So it wasn't that huge of a deal, but we were also pretty exhausted trying to get there. So once we got to the hotel, um, it was called the Fjord in Berlin, and it was part of a chain called the Little Big Hotels, and it was pretty nice based on just appearances. The problem here's tragedy number two for our first day in Europe. Uh, we could not get in. They had locked the door, a magnetic lock to the building, and there was no 24-hour desk clerk situation. You couldn't just get someone's attention to get in. Um, it was past the check-in time, I guess, and so we had to figure it out. And of course, now, okay, well, who do we call? But we can't call anyone because, again, we've got cell phone issues. So while we were sitting there, and I was literally considering just sleeping there in front of the hotel that night, another couple arrived, and they were able to call the night manager, and then that person walked them through and walked us through the lockbox that was on the outside, where you could grab a temporary key, get into the front door of the building, and get into your room. So we just basically got kind of lucky, is what happened. The room was pretty basic, but it was really clean and it was really nice. We had a little difficulty getting the hot water to work right. It was just way too hot, and so I had to fiddle with some controls and stuff. But we finally kind of got that figured out. I did get water like all over the bathroom. The shower was kind of set up as if the bathroom itself is the shower stall, if that makes sense. So water got everywhere while I was trying to figure it out. And I was also very tired, so that didn't go so great. We definitely needed showers, though. By the time we got to a hotel with a shower, there was no choice. We had to get it done. We finally went to sleep. It was kind of late at night. I don't know what time it was when we went to sleep, but we kind of made it such that we now could set our body clocks and set our sleep schedules to the European um, time zone. So that was it. That's part two of our trip, and we had just arrived in Berlin. And starting with the next installment, we can start talking about some of the sites and um, attractions and various things that we were able to soak in Berlin. We'll see you all next episode.